Do you have shiny object syndrome? Well, stop the scroll because I'm going to talk to you about how you can become more strategic with your learning so that you can stop wasting time and money going down that rabbit hole and losing all of your business momentum. Hi, I'm Cheryl Texera, and I wanted to talk to you today about how to get into a more strategic approach to learning all the things you need to learn. And the reason why is because we know that there is a lot to learn as a small business owner, and particularly as an online business owner if you are doing it all yourself. So, what happens is we all end up getting into this really scary shiny object syndrome, right? We just think that this next thing is going to be the answer. This is the one that's going to do it and finally get me unstuck, right? And so we end up going after these low cost things, sometimes it's high cost things, but a lot of times as we start out, we start doing low cost types of offers. And those offers are probably great. And they might even be the answer sometimes. But the problem is that we tend to not finish them. They sit on the virtual shelf collecting dust, and we never actually implement what we need to implement in that particular course. The other thing that I see often is that we think that we have to take the entire course or not at all. Instead of using little bits at a time, taking those little nuggets that you get out of some of these low cost courses that you can use to get you to the next step. And so I wanted to talk to you a little bit about strategic learning and how that can help you get out of the shiny object syndrome mode and start being more strategic about how you learn. So I have this cycle for you, and I wanted to share it because I think that it can really help you understand the difference in how strategic learning can make a difference in how you do things. So, one of the things that I always tell my clients is one of the first things I tell them to do is if you have virtual courses sitting out on a shelf somewhere unfinished, go out and find those and start a Trello board that has all the different courses that you have and categorize them, like make a column for all your SEO stuff and make a column for building your website, make a column for marketing, make a column for email, anything, all the different trainings that you have purchased in your lifetime as a business owner that maybe you haven't finished or maybe you even have finished. But one of the things that you can start doing as a practice, if you don't have any courses, or if you don't know where they are, or you don't have the time to sit down and do this, is to once you purchase a course, is to create a card in Trello on that board that I was talking about, and then do an outline with a checklist on that board. One is in the description. Go ahead and just write out what that course is about, what you expect to get out of it, where the links are, so how you can access it, all of that information, right? So you know how to get to it. And then you can create a checklist. You can actually create multiple checklists in Trello where you can put the units, and then underneath the unit, you can make a checklist for all the different lessons that are in that checklist or in that unit. And the nice thing about that is then in Trello, you can start tracking where you are in that course so that as you go through and you find you meet an obstacle, you can go to that Trello board to look to see if you already have a resource that exists that's going to help you overcome that obstacle. And that's what we're talking about here with the strategic learning process. And so if you can see this, I'm going to blow it up just a little bit for a minute, it's a cycle, right? Learning is a cycle. And when you try to learn everything at once, that's when you get into trouble. Because what happens is you end up not finishing because it's too much to learn. There is way too much to learn, and you can't learn it all now. So we end up with a bunch of unfinished courses. We end up disappointed in ourselves. And the worst part is we end up not implementing. And you know I'm all about implementation. So we want to make sure that you're implementing. And so that's why I've created this cycle, because this is a great cycle for you to be more strategic about how you learn. First of all, you have goals and objectives. And I'm not talking about the high level goals, because if you look at the high level goals, of course, you need to learn, if you're doing everything yourself, you need to learn how to build your web pages. You need to learn how to build a funnel, possibly. You need to learn marketing. You need to learn email marketing. You need to learn social media marketing. There's so much to learn, high level goals and objectives. But at the lower level, while you're working on a project, you have specific goals and objectives of that project, right? And so you want to start looking at that as your target area of what you're trying to fix. We start at the small areas, and that collectively will add up to all of those big things. So you attempt to implement whatever it is you're trying to do with already what you know, because chances are you already know a lot. You already have done a lot of courses. Even if you've only done them partially, you already understand a lot of marketing concepts, because just having a social feed, you probably understand marketing concepts. And so you attempt to implement with what you already know. And if you don't know that thing, then you start evaluating what that skill gap is. Now, it's really important to think about it as a skill gap, and not just, that all or nothing thinking of, well, forget it. I'm not cut out for this. I can't do it. No, you simply have skill gaps. You want to evaluate to determine what those skill gaps are. And then you do some targeted research on that particular thing. And there's a really good chance you're going to find that on YouTube or, somewhere for free. But if not, if you don't find anything and you do a bunch of research, that's when you may need to purchase a course. Or if you want to go a little bit more in depth on that thing, like maybe it's a skill gap you've had over and over trying to implement, right? And you go to YouTube and you've done all the free things now, and you really need to understand it at a little bit deeper level. That's when you want to start purchasing a course, right? Same thing with implementation. Learning implementation is a skill. That's why I teach it in the Scrum Shop, is because implementation is a skill, and it takes time and energy to learn that skill. And it's a cyclical process, just like everything you're doing is a cyclical process. And you want to fill those gaps in a way that is least impactful to your timeline, right? So that's why you want to keep learning in a cycle, because you can just learn enough to get you through the obstacle, and then you move forward. And as you repeat and you see that issue again come up, you can learn it at a little bit deeper level, a little bit deeper and deeper and deeper. It just goes on with every cycle. It's the same way with implementation. It's the same way with Scrum. It's all the same type of thing. And learning in a cyclical way is going to help you stay out of that shiny object thing where you think it's going to be the answer, and keep you focused on your goals and what project you are working on now. You're just filling a skill gap so you can get beyond that obstacle, right? You're becoming a problem solver instead of chasing that latest rabbit. I have a little freebie that I'm giving out, and it is actually ready. You can find it thescrumshop.com/shiny object syndrome. So check it out and get that download, because that will help you to start evaluating what it is you're going to take, and to ensure that whatever that course is that you're considering taking is meeting those goals and objectives.